welcome. Tonight, the brickbats between the feuding camps and the PDP leadership continues. Governor Wike slams the party's national chairman for describing those calling for his resignation as children in the PDP. PDP remains one family. Party's national publicity secretary dismisses fears of a possible implosion, says members are focused on winning the elections next year. INEC appeals to political parties and candidates to focus on issue-based campaigns to publish final lists of candidates on September 20th and October 2nd.
On business news tonight, Nigeria's central bank grants agency banking and card processing license to one of Africa's leading payment technology companies, Flutterwave.
On sports news tonight, Super Eagles forward Sadiq Umar joins Spanish La Liga side Real Sociedad on a 5-year deal worth €20 million on transfer deadline day.
And from the nation's capital, the Nigeria Customs Service questions the amount of petrol consumed in the country, says figures put out by the NNPC do not reflect the reality.
And in international news from London, a team from the UN nuclear watchdog has arrived at the Zaporizhia power plant in southern Ukraine.
That each day presents a different scenario in the political fireworks rocking the People's Democratic Party, with Governor Nyesom Wike of Rivers State today taking a swipe at his party's national chairman, Iyorchia Ayu. His outburst is a reaction to Ayu's comments during an interview yesterday in which he refused to hear the calls of those he referred to as children to resign his position. Governor Wike says Senator Ayu's political career was revived by those he described as children. He was speaking at the commissioning of internal roads in Ikwere local government area of the state.
Ayu, you were impeached as Senate President. Ayu, you were sacked by Obasanjo in his administration 2 times. Arrogance cannot take you to anywhere. Now we are saying that you don't want the party to win election. We will help you. These children you say we are, these boys we are, that brought you from nothing, nothing. I said from nothing. We brought you. You say you founded this party, but you left the party. You left the party in 2007. You founded a company, you left the company. People stood and brought out the company to what it is today. You have no moral right to still come and claim that you founded that party and that company. You left with your shares. Other shareholders have come in. I will do what my conscience tells me to do and what is right for our people. If not, it's only in Nigeria that you come and see people talk. A man that was impeached, a man that was sacked, a man that ran away from the party is now coming to say, I was the founding member of the party. Then you run away. Then those who struggle to make sure that the prodigal father came now see that the children had built the house. He asked the children, come on, you should go away. I was the builder of this house. Look at it.
Still at the same event in Rivers State, the former National Deputy Chairman and member of the PDP Board of Trustees, Chief Bode George, ramped up the heat in the party, maintaining that the national chairman position must go to the South.
It is an antithesis and against the norm and culture of our party that our presidential candidate, our national chairman, and the chairman of the Board of Trustees will come from one section of the country. Party members from the South are already feeling alienated. PDP is not a private company. Before we start the presidential campaign at the end of this month, the national chairman must go to the south. This is all Governor Wike is saying. And as a life member of the Board of Trustees of our party, I support this position 100%. Statutorily, it is the national chairman who hands over the party's flag to our presidential candidate. How will party members of the South feel when they see that at all political rallies, Southerners have no public political representation? This constitutes a fundamental flaw and lack of inclusiveness, which will be diametrically opposed to the original thinking of the founding fathers of our party. Maybe if IU had remained perpetual in the party, he would have learned the ropes much better. Governor Wike is not saying anything out of anger. He's only telling the truth to power. That is why the national chairmanship must come to the South now as a matter of urgency. We're not begging for it. We demand it because it is our right.
Despite today's outburst by Governor Wike, the PDP is maintaining there is no crisis within the party. Addressing a news conference in Abuja, the National Publicity Secretary, Mr. Debo Ologunagba, explains that the party remains committed to its vision of rescuing the country from the myriad of challenges it's facing under the APC-led administration. He says over 4 million Nigerians have defected to the PDP in order to assist the party in winning the 2023 presidential election.
That's by your definition. In the last 4 months, for instance, you have witnessed a lot of movement, exodus into the PDP by Nigerians. And it is basically because the messaging of our party is resonating, which is basically about the rescue and rebuild mission in terms of where we are as a people and as a country. So Nigerians are listening to those messaging, and it's catching on. And we saw that reflected in all the elections that we've had in the last months or so. And in the last couple of months, from our own record, over 4 million Nigerians have moved into our party on record. And our membership is growing, and people are connected to the stories that we set in Nigeria in terms of the message of rescue and rebuild, because we're in their consequences. So I can tell you that the PDP is alive, we're active, we're working hard on our mission statement, we're working on our campaign council. In the next couple of weeks it will be unveiled, and you will see that people are working. Irrespective of whatever we read in the paper, of course we have to read things, but I can tell you this party is set and ready for the election. I will tell our members and Nigerians that the PDP, the hope is here, and the darkness is going, and the countdown has started.
Debo Ologunagba for the PDP. Meanwhile, the former governor of Kano State, Ibrahim Shekarau, is optimistic the PDP's internal mechanism will be resolved, or will resolve the ongoing crisis in the party. He's also promising to work with the PDP presidential candidate Atiku Abubakar to win next year's presidential election. Governor Shekarau, who recently defected to the PDP from the NNPP, explains that his move was based on wide consultation and national interest, and not a selfish one. He was guest earlier this evening in our program, Politics Today.
Up to the 18th of May, when we had a public declaration, and Konkoso came with all his own political associates, it was a very big ceremony. It was at that meeting that he brought the senatorial seat of Kano Central form and presented it to me. He said, I was the first to receive the form. At that time, as at 18th of May, no any other candidate has been identified or listed or given form through the various discussions that we agreed to make. The same 18th of May, by the night, midnight,
we saw a list released by the party leadership in the state, handwritten list of candidates by their constituencies, and indicating as having solved the entire constituency's candidates. In fact, in the list released on the 18th by the night, even some constituencies had no name. The following morning, I met him and I challenged the list released. We said this is unacceptable. I think I have been reading of these disagreements or whatever you call it. By the grace of God, I've known Wiki and I've known him to be a team player. He was my Minister of State when I was Minister of Education. So Wiki is nothing new to me. Atiku is not new to me. I'm sure I will be part of all the efforts other elders have been making in the party. We want a very peaceful election, peaceful party machinery to carry everybody along. I don't intend to claim that I have all the answers, but I'll be reading. Now that I'm part of the family, I will go all out to find out what exactly are the problems. And I'm sure Wiki as my junior brother and Atiku as my elder brother, I'm sure I will join hands with well-wishers in the party and be part of brokering peace in the PDP by the grace of God.
Staying with parties' preparations for next year's general elections and away from the PDP, the Labour Party has inaugurated an 11-man committee to steer its diaspora activities and ensure inclusiveness of members in the party outside the country. During the inauguration in Abuja, the national chairman of the party, Mr. Julius Abure, explained that the committee was born out of the need to address the desire of Nigerians living abroad to be included in the party's campaign train.
The party has enjoyed overwhelming support from Nigerians and from Nigerians across the world, and even non-Nigerians alike. This has resulted in a situation where there is clamor for the party to establish chapters across the world. There has also been the clamor of people who want to contribute to the growth and development of the party. Arising from these calls and the necessity to have these activities coordinated, the party therefore have decided to put up a committee of 11 distinguished Nigerians to drive this process. And it is that committee we are inaugurating today.
In part two, after the break, a coalition of civil society organizations raises concerns over possible vote trading and the run-up to the 2023 general elections. That's in a moment. To join us again. Welcome back. If you just joined us to watch the News at 10 live on Channels Television Lagos. Here's a reminder of our top stories. The breakbacks between the feuding camps and the PDP leadership continues. Governor Wike slams the party's national chairman for describing those calling for his resignation as children in the PDP. PDP remains one family. Party's national publicity secretary dismisses fears of possible implosion, says members are focused on winning next year's elections. INEC appeals to political parties and candidates to focus on issue-based campaigns, to publish final list of candidates on September 20th and October 2nd. And a team from the UN nuclear watchdog has arrived at the Zaporizhzhia nuclear plant in southern Ukraine. Amid intrigue by political parties and candidates ahead of the 2023 contest, a chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission, Professor Mahmoud Yakubu, is appealing to political actors to focus on issue-based campaigns as they commence on September 28th. Professor Yakubu made the plea while giving a breakdown of activities leading up to the conduct of the polls in 2023. According to him, the Commission will publish the final lists of presidential and National Assembly candidates on September 20th, while the list for governorship and State Assembly candidates will be published on October 4th.
Very much. You may be seated, please.
It's a forum organized by the Center for Democracy and Development to deliberate on how adequate security can be enforced in the run-up to the 2023 general elections. And as expected, experts from the Independent National Electoral Commission, civil society organizations, and representatives of security agencies are in attendance. The series of security challenges across the country comes to the fore as speakers highlight the role of government agencies and the need to redouble efforts towards making the 2023 election exercise a success.
We know that there are prevailing insecurity challenges pervading different parts of this country. I think at the CDD we often refer to it as multiple nodes of conflict, common causes, and we have written extensively on these challenges on the national level. These challenges are quite different because they are not the normal election violence you would think of when conceptualizing electoral security. We are, even as a country, dealing with election violence. Pre, during, and after elections are things we could do. We could mobilize all the security. For instance, we could come together as a community to deal with this issue and interest group.
The INEC chairman, Professor Mahmoud Yakubu, also lends his voice to the call for adequate security and announces the schedule for the activities leading to the election.
In the next 19 days, that is on the 20th of September 2022, the Commission will publish the final list of candidates for national elections, presidential candidates and their running mates, senatorial candidates, and candidates for federal constituencies, that is House of Representatives, as provided by Section 32, subsection 1 of the Electoral Act 2022. This will be followed on 4th October 2022 by the publication of the final list of candidates for state elections, governorship and state houses of assembly elections.
Ahead of the September 28th commencement of campaigns, INEC is advising politicians to steer clear of issues that can heat up the polity and worsen the security situation in the country.
Meanwhile, a coalition of civil society organizations is calling on all political parties and their presidential candidates to desist from politics of monetization in order to arrest the trend of vote buying. Presenting the position of the coalition in Abuja, the country director of Accountability Laboratory, Mr. Friday O'Day, says the politics of monetization is placing undue strain on the naira against international currencies. The group is also asking the presidential candidates to work towards ensuring that all classes of Nigerians have equal opportunity to participate in the governance process.
Despite the existence of the legal framework for asset declaration for political and public office holders, the level of compliance is unknown as data on asset declaration for office holders is not available to the public. The lack of public data on the assets of potential political aspirants provides an avenue for opacity and a lack of accountability, thereby fueling political corruption. The monetization of politics was the main headline during political parties' primaries we've seen a couple of months ago and has become a pointer to how vote buying and selling will play a disruptive role in the 2023 elections. This has also affected the value of the naira. and as aspirants now deal in and distribute major international currencies, especially the dollar. In the last couple of weeks, the dollar to naira exchange peaked at 715 naira on the parallel markets due to undue pressure of the value of the naira. Vote buying has become a widespread practice where democracy has struggled to fully consolidate due to Nigerians' entrenched corrupt political class, trapping citizens in self-sabotaging, subservient relationships with political leaders.
And as representatives of some foreign countries continue their engagements with the various candidates ahead of the 2023 elections, the flag bearer of the PDP, Atiku Abubakar, has met with ambassadors of the European Union to Nigeria in Abuja. Speaking to journalists at the end of their discussions, which held behind closed doors, the former vice president said the meeting centered on bilateral relations between Nigeria and the EU. He was accompanied to the meeting by his running mate, Governor Ifeanyi Okowa of Delta State.
Oh, just friendly discussions, how to improve Nigeria-European, bilateral relationship. Yeah, that's all.
Time now to get more news from Terry Ikume in our studio in Abuja. Hi, Terry.
Hello, Amarachi. How many liters of petrol is consumed in the country? This remains a subject of debate. And this time, the Comptroller General of the Nigeria Customs Service, Colonel Hamid Ali, is questioning the figures put out by the NNPC Limited. He wonders why the NNPC allows 98 million liters of PMS to be lifted daily from the depots when it puts daily consumption of the product at 60 million liters. He stated this when he appeared before the House Committee on Finance for the hearing on the Medium-Term Expenditure Framework 2023 to 2025.
The issue is not the smuggling of petroleum. I have always argued this with NNPC. If we are consuming 60 million liters per day by their own computation, why in the world will you allow a liftment of petroleum product of 98 million million liters per day? That computation to me is not even anything to believe, because scientifically you cannot tell me that if I fill my tank today, tomorrow I'll fill the same tank with the same quantity of fuel. And if I'm running a petrol station today, if I go to Mina Depot and lift petrol and I'm taking it to Kaduna, I may reach Kaduna in the evening, offload that petrol in that evening. There's no way I could have sold that petrol for you to account that that has been expended. So how do we get to 60 million every day? If you say this petrol is smuggled, if you release 98 million liters, and then in actual you have released 98 million liters, and then we use 60 million liters, the balance will be 38 million liters. How many trucks will carry 38 million liters? Every day. That's almost 500. Which road are they following? Where are they carrying this thing to?
Well, 31 trillion naira is the amount of money required by the Northeast Development Commission to implement its Stabilization and Development Master Plan for the region. This is according to the Managing Director of the Commission, Mr. Mohammed Al-Khali, who explains that the master plan has an 11-point agenda covering healthcare, agriculture, industrialization, education, and peace building. He was speaking at the launch of the master plan in Abuja. Our correspondent, Dele Omoyeni, has the details.
Critical stakeholders from the Northeast region, including governors and federal lawmakers, are launching the 10-year Northeast Stabilization and Development Master Plan after concluding several brainstorming sessions across the region. Section 8, subsection 1C of the NEDC Act mandates the Commission to develop the Northeast Stabilization and Development Master Plan based on the needs assessment of the region. However, there are a few challenges affecting the Commission's capacity to implement the master plan. Key among the issues is funding.
It will run from 2020 to 2030, that's 10 years, in 4 implementation phases. One is the recovery and stabilization, which will take place between 2020 and 2021. We have the renewal phase, 2022 to 2023. We have the expansion phase, 2024 to 2025, and finally, the sustainable growth phase, 2026 to 2030.
The master plan has 11 critical areas for the development of the region, including healthcare, agriculture, industrialization, education, and peace building. Nevertheless, there are distractions that the Commission should be wary of.
It should be based on transparency and integrity so that we can attract the much needed resources, which will definitely not come from government because of scarcity and paucity of funds, but from the corporate world.
We need to constantly engage with the state governments, not to report on what we are doing, but importantly at the strategic level for advice and cross-fertilization of ideas and plans. Despite all political pressures, we must invest in areas that are very strategic, transformational, and have long-term impacts in transforming the fortune of the region.
The master plan is then launched.
For the benefit of the people of the Northeast and to the glory of God.
Now, while it's not clear how the Commission hopes to raise the ambitious 31 trillion naira it wants to use in implementing this master plan, what is clear is that this master plan is all-encompassing and, if properly and dutifully implemented, will bring unprecedented developments to northeastern Nigeria. Dele Omoyeni, Channels Television News.
In other stories, the governor of Gombe State, Mr. Inuwa Yahaya, is pledging his commitment to continuing strengthening mutual cooperation and partnership with the Federal Ministry of Water Resources and the World Bank towards the expansion of water supply in the state. Speaking in Abuja while playing host to a delegation from the World Bank under the auspices of the Sustainable Urban and Rural Water Supply, Sanitation and Hygiene, Governor Yahaya says the meeting is part of high-level engagement towards canvassing for developments that are beneficial to the people of the state.
Watching or performing for results is not a new thing to us. Significantly, with regards to what the World Bank has already been doing, so that we incentivize, actions and performances so that you see the results on the ground. And even before then, the ministry itself, we partnered in order to expand the regional water scheme, which was done much earlier, I think since around 2006. And what we are doing now is to work hard to see that we link up, so that both the rural and urban settlements in Gombe are linked, so that at the end of the day we'll achieve what is expected in terms of water, sanitation, and hygiene. And for that reason, I say that I guarantee you, with what we did, especially, Mr. Gerard Akahaza, you check with regards to what Gombe did on SIFTAS, there's strengthening fiscal transparency, accountability, and sustainability. But we won virtually all the DRIs last year. So we have experience on that. And equally too, on so many other fronts. By the situation we find ourselves, we virtually have no option than to see who we partner with in order to improve on our general conditions and situations in Gombe State.
To anti-corruption fight, the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, has arrested the Speaker of the Ogun State House of Assembly, Olakunle Oluomo, at the Murtala Mohammed International Airport, Lagos. Sources told our judiciary correspondent, Shola Shoyele, that he was picked up by EFCC officials to answer questions bordering on alleged financial crimes. The EFCC leadership has kept mum over the arrest, but a source within the commission, however, admitted that the Ogun State Speaker had been invited several times but failed to honor EFCC's invitations. The arrested Speaker is being grilled at the Lagos office of the anti-corruption body. Well, that's all from Abuja. Back to you, Amaraj.
Thank you, Terry. And the governor of Ebonyi State, David Umahi, has flagged off what he calls the unconditional empowerment in his state. Speaking at the event which took place in Abakaliki, the state capital, the governor said the exercise is meant to help residents to build a sustainable life. Governor Umahi also inaugurated elected officials of the 13 local government councils and appealed to them to connect with the people at the grassroots.
Governor David Umahi of Ebonyi State arriving the already packed Pa Oruta Ngele Township Stadium in Abakaliki, the state capital, for flag-off of the State Empowerment Initiative. The empowerment program starts with a speech by the Deputy Governor of the state, stating the reason for the empowerment.
It is my pleasure to inform you that His Excellency the Governor directed us to take, as part of his contribution into the NG Cares program, the sum of 1.7 billion naira as an injection into the N Cares program.
After that, Governor Umahi goes ahead to flag off the program.
The D-Day has come. We know we did ENSA conference, and we set aside money to empower our brothers and sisters, our mothers and fathers. And this is the first phase of it. Today, you are getting a total of 1,084 million naira.
The chairman of the government area of Ebonyi State.
The swearing-in of the elected officials of 13 local government areas of Ebonyi State takes place almost immediately, with the vice chairman and chairman inaugurated by Governor Umahi.
Federal Republic of Nigeria and the law, and always in the interest of sovereignty.
In his address, Governor Umahi says he did not infringe on any law by inaugurating the elected officials, as he sought and got credible legal advice from the appropriate channels.
Let me congratulate all the outgone chairmen. You came on 2-year tenure. 2-year tenure finished yesterday. New ones, you have mounted the seat of leadership. Your tenure is 2-year tenure.
These new council officials are reminded about the importance of positions they occupy and the need for them to connect with the people at the grassroots, as that is the only way their 2-year tenure will be judged at the end of the day.
Back here in Lagos, commercial motorcyclists have now been banned in 10 out of 20 local government areas, where the enforcement of the prohibition in additional 4 local government areas taking effect from today. Our correspondent Timothy Crown Aderigube tells us more.
If you see this in any part of Mushin local government area now, it must be an old vision.
This is the bus terminal point 1 in the Oshodi area of Lagos. At this time of day, you would have found commercial motorcyclists, popularly called Okada, plying their trade, commuting passengers between Bolade and Mushin, Oshodi here, and Ladipo, Oshodi, and Ikeja along and Yanopaja. But as it stands now, we found almost none of them except for a few privately owned bikes.
The Lagos State government at some time in August announced plans to effect ban on the activities of commercial motorcycle in 4 more councils of Koshofe, Oshodi Solo, Ejigbo and Mushin from September the 1st. This, according to the state, is due to the gains recorded from previous ban in reduction in accident and crime rate. It is coming 3 months after the first phase of the ban in 6 local government areas. There's a replica of the Oshodi situation at Odiolowo in Mushin local government area.
They said that the correction centers is too much. They have much in that place. Still, they are still coming out to arrest people. So, those people they are arrested, they are innocent souls. They are also there and there to get means to feed their family.
If not for the fact that the state government have looked at it, that they use it for, most of them use it for
other dubious activities. If not, it makes things easier. Like if you are going some places, you have appointment in order to beat the hold up, right? You have to take bike.
This traffic situation at Ilukeju would have been a reason given to use a motorbike, but now everyone is finding ways around it. This point at Ojota in Koshofe Council used to be a convergence area for many of the operators, but not anymore. A drive round some of the inner streets at Ketu shows all clear of commercial motorcycles. But this has not gone down well for some passengers who see the ban option as counterproductive.
Somebody that does not have job before and decided to pick Okada to either feed his family or cater for his own personal need. You just woke up one day, you ban bike. Then, have you provided job for that person? If you are, as an example, you take bike away from me, I will have to look for, but when I don't get what do I do? I'll take to crime. And you have not significantly reduced crime. Rather, in some other way, they must have increased it.
The Lagos State government says it is making plans to alleviate the attendant pain.
We have so many interventions that the governor of Lagos State, has provided. We have training programs. If you want to come to our training centers, we have loans from Lagos State Employment Trust Fund. We have the Greek years. We have so many things that these people can actually plug in. So many interventions that they can plug in that will take care of their livelihoods.
Judging by the look of things around town, one may be quick to conclude that there's full compliance, but the coming days may show how the situation pans out. Timothy Crown, Adiribibe, Channels Television News.
Once more, we return to Rivers State, where the government continues its projects of commissioning and flag off in different communities. Today, Governor Nyesom Wike, accompanied by the former PDP National Deputy Chairman, Chief Bode George, who was a special guest, commissioned some internal roads in Ikwere local government area of the state.
It's an event to commission the internal road network in the River State community of Omerelu in Ikwere local government area. The state governor, Nyesom Wike, is accompanied by the former national vice chairman, Southwest Zone of the People's Democratic Party, Chief Olabode George. The 13.48-kilometer network of roads is expected to improve movement around the area.
Remember that fateful day in 2014 when you drove through the marshy parts of Omerelu community? You told them you would do the internal road, that you would do it for them to wipe away their tears. His Excellency, you have kept to that promise.
You've indeed dotted the landscape of River State with numerous projects, different kinds of infrastructure that will stand the test of time. We have about 3.4 kilometers of the project in the built-up area of the community, and we have about 10 kilometers that crisscrosses all the farmlands of this community and opens it up to future mixed-use development.
Governor Wike says his administration is delivering on its electoral promises.
But what the community needs, the basic amenities, basic infrastructure that will change the socio-economic activities of the area. I'm sure the people of Omerelu will say that this administration, we have come to you, we have made promise to you, and we have fulfilled the promise we have made to you.
It's now time to commission the project as Chief George does the honors.
And to the good people of this community, you will go well, peacefully, no accidents, no hazards. Those who are going to their farms will have high return yields on their products. God bless you all. Thank you.
For the people of the community, they are happy to be able to move their goods, hoping that the road will boost economic activities in the rural communities.
to the updates on the strike action now by university lecturers. Despite the indefinite situation, academic activities may soon resume at the Nasarawa State University in Kefi. It comes as the state government agrees to take responsibility for the payment of salaries of the members of staff of the university. Governor Abdullahi Sule made the disclosure while briefing members of the State Executive Council at Government House in Lafia.
We have ongoing discussions with the ASU local chapter of the State University in Kefi. And we had reached a certain stage that I will discuss with you at a later date. But one of the conditions they have given to us, which is the most important condition, is to ensure that we take over the full payment of the salaries of all the staff so that they don't have to use their IGR actually complementing. And as far as we are concerned, we look at our finances and we strongly believe that based on the cash flow we have available to us and also the importance that we have attached to education, that we should be able to start that from this month. So we are hoping also they will complement by the moment we start the payment. But as far as the university management is concerned, they have promised us that once we make the payment, they will open up the university, and then expect the ASU members to resume. While the other two associations, that are there for the non-teaching staff of the universities are concerned, they have already made up their decision to resume.
Business is next. Here's Anne Mawadu.
Thank you, Amarachi. Hello and welcome to Business News. Africa's leading payments technology company Flutterwave has been granted a switching and processing license by the Central Bank of Nigeria. In a statement released today, the company says the license, which is widely regarded as CBN's most valuable payments processing permit, will enable it to carry out transactions between banks, fintechs, and other financial institutions, as well as process card transactions and participate in agency banking and offer previous and various payment services without any intermediary. Prior to this license approval, Flutterwave operated with its payment solution service provider and international money transfer operator licenses. The firm has an infrastructure reach in over 34 African countries, including Nigeria, South Africa, and Uganda. Growth in Nigeria's private sector activity eased in the month of August from what was recorded in the month of July. Well, that's according to the Purchasing Managers Index from one of the leading financial institutions, Stanbic IBTC. In a statement released for the month, the lender says the headline PMI for business conditions in the industry stood at 52.3 last month compared to 53.2 in the month of July. At the same time, overall input price inflation rose at the second fastest rate on record, while sentiments moderated to the weakest since November last year. Among the four monitored subsectors, 3 registered output growth, with agriculture as top in the rankings, followed by wholesale and retail services. And on the other hand, manufacturers recorded a fall in output levels for the month of August. Further analysis of the PMI report shows that new orders rose for the 26th consecutive month running in the month of August, with panelists linked to general improvements in customer demand. However, despite slowdowns in output and new order growth, firms added to their headcounts at a quicker pace in the month of August. At the same time, the overall rates of job creation was modest and the highest for 3 months as firms continue to reduce their backlog. But the rate of decline was fractional amid difficulties sourcing some key inputs. Meanwhile, Stanbic IBTC PMI report forecast that firms remained optimistic of output growth in the year ahead, as has been the case since the survey began in January 2014. But the degree of positivity was the weakest for 9 months. Germany's flagship airline Lufthansa says it will cancel almost all passenger and cargo flights from its two biggest hubs, that's Frankfurt and Munich. In a statement released today, the carrier says the move follows plans by its pilot to commence a day-long strike on Friday, September the 2nd. The airline says the strike is expected to affect about 800 flights, especially travelers returning at the end of the summer vacation. However, its budget carrier, Eurowings, would not be affected. On Wednesday, a union representing Lufthansa pilots said that they will stage a walkout after a request for a pay increase and other demands were rejected by the management. We head to the market now, where more than 28 billion naira was added to the previous gain recorded in local equities market. It began the month of September with a moderate increase on its key indicators. Will Ebonyi tells us more.
Welcome to the stock market report. The major indexes rose again in today's trading session, kicking off September in grand style. We have market giants, Boa Cement, O&O, Flour Mills, and Access Corp to thank for the sustained uptrend as the index rose by 0.11% today. Volume and value lower than what we saw yesterday, but still a positive market breadth as 13 stocks gained against 12. And we see Pharma Deco topping that counter. Consolidated Allmark Insurance made a flip to the gainer's corner after gracing the loser's court yesterday. Meanwhile, Mutual Benefit took a bloodbath today, tumbling 9.38% to close at 29 kobo. The pullbacks definitely did provide an opportunity for investors to get into big names, and hopefully the market rallies into the year end. But that may be wishful thinking, as there are always profit takers to contend with. And that's the stock market report. I'm Will Ebonyi. Back to you.
And that's business news. Thank you for watching. I'm Anne Nwawodu. It's back to you, Marachi.
Thank you, Anne. Director General of the UN's nuclear watchdog, the IAEA, says he's seen what he needed to see, having visited the Zaporizhia nuclear power plant accompanied by Russian soldiers despite shelling near the site. He, however, says the mission will maintain a continued presence in Zaporizhia. Simon Pusey has more in Around the World in 5.
Good evening and welcome to the Channel's studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5. A team from the UN nuclear watchdog has arrived at a Russian-held nuclear power plant in southern Ukraine. The convoy of IAEA vehicles reached the power station at about 2:15 Moscow time. Russia's defense ministry says it thwarted an attempt by a Ukrainian sabotage group to seize the plant on Thursday in what it called a provocation aimed at disrupting the site's inspection. Russia's foreign minister Sergei Lavrov says Moscow expects the UN's nuclear inspectors to produce an unbiased report on the state of the Zaporizhia power plant. 4 people have been killed in clashes among rival Shiite Muslim militants in the southern Iraqi city of Basra. It is the latest violence to hit the country in a political crisis that pits followers of the powerful Shiite cleric Muqtada al-Assad against mostly Iran-aligned parties and paramilitary groups. The security officials said the clashes took place in the center of Basra, Iraq's main oil-producing hub. 2 of those killed were members of Assad's Peace Brigade's militia. Violence re-erupted in Iraq this week as armed supporters of Assad fought with security forces and Iran-aligned gunmen in Baghdad in the fiercest street battles the capital has seen for years. Sri Lanka has reached a preliminary agreement with the International Monetary Fund for a loan of about $2.9 billion as the country seeks a way out of its worst economic crisis in decades. Sri Lanka's President, Ranil Wickremesinghe, met with IMF officials and Sri Lankan ministers to announce the agreement. It is still subject to approval by IMF management and its executive board, and is contingent on Sri Lankan authorities following through with previously agreed measures. Its programme, spread over 4 years, will aim to boost government revenue, encourage fiscal consolidation, introduce new pricing for fuel and electricity, hike social spending, bolster central bank autonomy and rebuild depleted foreign reserves.
For me, I would consider this to be a beginning of a new economic era, where we are committed to a very competitive, export-oriented industry while maintaining and improving our social standards as well as looking after the vulnerable groups.
Hundreds of mourners have taken part in a funeral procession for a Palestinian who was killed in clashes with the Israeli military in the West Bank. The mourners marched through the streets of Kalandia refugee camp, some firing rounds in the air. 2 Palestinians were killed on that day in separate clashes with the Israeli military in the occupied West Bank. A 26-year-old man from the Kalandia refugee camp near Jerusalem was shot in the heart, and a 25-year-old man from the Al-Ain refugee camp in Nablus was shot in the neck. Newly released police body cam footage shows the moment 2 men were rescued off the coast of Boston Harbor.
All right. Hey, back it up. Back it up. Back it up. There we go.
We're so weak. I can't. All right.
Local media reported the men were father and son in their 70s and 30s, and their lobster boat sank after striking rocks near Graveslight Station, about 9 miles from the coast. Both men appeared weak from the ordeal and struggled to climb onto the rescue craft. According to media reports, the incident was caught by the boat becoming possibly entangled in a lobster trap, which led to the vessel colliding with rocks near the light station. And finally, the food festival fight known as Tomatina returned in the eastern Spanish town of Bunol after a 2-year break due to the pandemic. The Tomatina's 75th edition started at midday after a firecracker was set off, giving the signal to 6 trucks loaded with tomatoes to drive through the main street, distributing the 130 tons of fruit. Thousands of unbridled revelers then spent hours throwing the overripe tomatoes at one another. Around 15,000 people took part in the festivities on Bunol's main street where the action happens. The Tomatina is said to have originated from a spontaneous bust-up amongst villagers way back in 1945. And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the Channel studios in Lagos.
Many thanks, Simon, and welcome to Sports News. Spanish La Liga side Real Sociedad Football Club have confirmed the signing of Super Eagles forward Sadiq Umar from Almeria until the 2027-2028 season in a deal worth €20 million plus €6 million in variables on the 5-year contract. Umar has netted 38 goals in the Spanish second division since 2020-21 as Almeria finally secured a route back to the top flight. The 25-year-old will wear jersey number 25 for his new club. He replaces Alexander Isak, who left Sociedad for Newcastle United in the English Premier League this summer. In the English Premier League, Jadon Sancho has fired Manchester United to a 1-0 victory at Leicester, as the England forward showed that he still has a role to play despite the big money signing of Brazil winger Antony. Well, Sancho netted with a clinical finish in the first half to seal United's 3rd successive Premier League victory. It was a well-timed contribution from Sancho, coming just hours after United officially confirmed their £82 million swoop for Ajax's Antony. United moved up to 5th place and sit just 1 point adrift of the top 4 as Erik ten Hag begins to make an impact after a nightmare start to the season. The official FIFA World Cup has arrived in Iran from Australia and was on display in Tehran earlier today. And the trophy, on a tour of 51 countries, is expected to travel to 32 nations that qualified for the 2022 World Cup to be held in Qatar from November the 21st to December the 18th. Iran's legendary goalkeeper Ahmadreza Abezadeh, Iranian women football coach Nilufar Ardalan, and the mayor of Tehran, Alireza Zakani, were among officials who received the trophy at the unveiling ceremony at Tehran's landmark Milad Tower. And that's a wrap on Sports News. I'm Ayot Sunday. Following back to you, Marachi.
Thanks a lot, Ayatunde. And the main news again. The governor of Rivers State, Nyesom Wike, today slammed the national chairman of the PDP, Ayocha Ayu, for describing those calling for his resignation as children in the party. This came as the breakbacks between the feuding camps in the PDP leadership continued. Also today, the Independent National Electoral Commission appealed to political parties and candidates to focus on issue-based campaigns. And that's it on the news at 10 tonight. Thanks for watching. I'm Amarachi Ubani. Good night.